Hey, what's up folks? So today's video is going to be about an exciting topic because we are going to talk about property wrappers and all the new cool places that we can now use them. But before we begin, you might have noticed in the title of the video that I'm going to talk about features that are part of Swift 5.5. So for now, if you want to use Swift 5.5, you need to use Xcode 13, which is currently in beta. So if you want to reproduce the code shown in this video, you need to download the beta of Xcode 13 from Apple's website. That being said, let's get started. Let's take a look at the code that is behind me. So as you can see, I have a function to get the data at some URL. The URL is passed in the form of a string. Then at the beginning of the function, I'm parsing the URL. And if the parsing was successful, meaning if a URL object was indeed constructed from the URL in the form of a string, well, I'm going to continue to execute my function where here I'm just printing the URL to the console, but then I would make a network call using, for instance, URL session. So this code looks nice, but if you've ever written this kind of code, you know that the format of a URL, we could say, is very sensitive because here we are getting a string as an input, and if there is, well, just one character that is off, well, the parsing could totally fail. An example of this is if there is, for instance, a white space, an extra white space at the end of the URL in the string. And while it might seem of no concern, because after all, well, the strings are part of our project, so we could check them before we ship our app, it's actually quite common for apps to get their URL from a network call, meaning that when the app starts, the app is going to request a file, and in this file there will be all the URL that will be called by the app, so the URL for all the different services. And when you have this approach, well, it's actually fairly easy to make a mistake in this remote file and to introduce an extra white space after a URL. I've actually seen this mistake being done in production, and it's always extremely frustrating when an app stops working in production because of such a trivial mistake. So there is actually a way to fix this that is quite easy, and the idea is the following one. So just before we actually try to parse the URL, we're first going to try and clean the URL. So you can see I am calling the function trimming characters in character set, and I'm asking to trim the characters that are either white spaces or new lines. So trimming, it means removing the characters that are either at the beginning or at the end of the string. And now that I have this trimmed URL, so we could say this cleaned up URL, I can use it in my parsing. And now if by some mistake there was a white space at the end of the string that is passed to the function getData, well, it's not going to be an issue because here this white space will be removed, and so the parsing will not fail because of such a trivial error. So this is of course much better, but as you can imagine, in our app there could be several places where we would need to actually clean this kind of URL, so it would make sense to factor out this piece of code. So a classic way to do it in Swift could be to, for instance, create a global function or create an extension on the type string. But if you know about property wrapper, you can imagine that it could also be a very good candidate for a property wrapper. So what I'm going to do is that I'm actually going to implement such a property wrapper. So I'm going to just paste in the code right here. So I'm not going to go too much into the details of how this property wrapper is implemented. If you want to know how to implement a property wrapper from scratch, I actually already have a video on the topic and you can go check it out. The one thing that is worth mentioning here is that the business logic that is encapsulated in the property wrapper is our trimming logic, where we remove the white spaces and the new line at the beginning and at the end of the string. And so now that we have this property wrapper, what we can do now is that we can annotate our local variable with the property wrapper just like this. And so this is one of the new places that we can now use property wrappers. At the beginning, property wrappers, they could only be used on properties, so on properties declared in a type, but now property wrappers, they are also compatible with local variables like this one. Before we go further, there are two things I want to mention here. The first one is that the ability to use a property wrapper for a local variable, it's actually not new in Swift 5.5, but rather in Swift 5.4. So actually, if you are using the latest version of Xcode 12, you can already use this possibility in this version of Xcode. And the second thing I want to mention is that for some reason, using a property wrapper on a local variable seems to pose some issues when you are working on a playground. Here I am working on an Xcode project, it's an iOS project, so it's working fine, but when I try to write the same code in a playground, I had some compilation error that I just couldn't make sense of. So it's something to keep in mind. If you want to try this code, you might want to try it in a project and not in a playground. So this is kind of nice because we've been able to encapsulate our business logic in a property wrapper, but still we can see that there is some room for improvement. First, well, since we are using a property wrapper, we are forced to declare our variable as a var. If I try to mark it as a let, I'm going to get a compilation error because it's actually not allowed to use a property wrapper on a local constant. It kind of makes sense because as you can see, I have a setter in the property wrapper, but it's not also very, we could say, well, idiomatic because we might want to mark that indeed this should never change, and it's just not possible. And the other thing that is kind of annoying is that we still need to create this local variable, even though it's not that much useful because, well, we are just transforming the argument. So what would be ideal would be to actually be able to apply the property wrapper to the argument. And that's exactly what is now possible since Swift 5.5. So what I can do now is that I can just cut the property wrapper. I can remove this line right here. Here I can use again directly the argument, and I can apply the property wrapper directly to the argument. And I think it's a pretty good feature to be able to use a property wrapper on an argument, because now we no longer need to create this extra local variable. We also don't need to introduce an extra var in our code. Here the URL is still a let constant and it works perfectly well because this is what we want to have in our code. So basically this ability to be able to decorate an argument with a property wrapper, it's something that is very useful, I think, and I think it's something that we're going to want to use more and more in our Swift code. Now, before we end this video, I want to show you one thing that might seem like a detail, but still has its importance, is that if I do an option click on the name of the method, you can see that Xcode is displaying the signature of the method. And you can see that the property wrapper is not part of the signature. It's not a bug of Xcode, it's actually on purpose, and it's because the property wrapper that I am using here, well, Swift considers it to be an implementation detail, and as such, it is hidden from the signature of the method. It's both a nice thing because it means that, well, it's not part of the API, so we can decide to remove it later, and it won't have any breaking change on existing call sites, but at the same time, we must also keep in mind that the person who calls this function might not necessarily be aware that this property wrapper is used. And so if we want to make sure that the caller is aware of it because it makes sense in our context, we will still have to write it explicitly in the documentation of the function. Now, there are actually some cases in which the property wrapper will be part of the signature of the function. I'm not going to explain them in this video because it's some rather advanced use cases, but I've put a link in the description. It's a link to the Swift evolution proposal that pitched this idea of being able to use property wrappers on arguments. And in the proposal, the cases where the property wrapper will be part of the signature of the function are explained in detail, and I can only encourage you to go check them out. And that's all for this video about all the new cool places that we can now use property wrappers in Swift. So as you can see, as Swift evolves, there are more and more places where we have the opportunity to use a property wrapper. So definitely, I feel like this syntax is going to be a big part of Swift in the future, so I can only encourage you to try to learn about it as much as you can and try to experiment with it in your app. As always, if you have some cool example on how to use a property wrapper, well, please let me know in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, you can leave a like. For you, it's free, and for me, it's always a great pleasure to see that people have indeed enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.